Yes, it's a low risk, but it is one of the risks that we're following with the storms, in addition to hail, damaging wind, frequent lightning, and downpours that could lead to flooding. The risk is strongest where we're seeing this orange highlight here as you move pretty much west of Worcester, but it extends up through New Hampshire, Maine, and down through western Connecticut into areas of New York as well. So between 2 to 6 is where this threat is strongest in western Massachusetts, pushing east into eastern Massachusetts, mainly after 6 p.m. It's a hot and humid day for us, setting us up for this storm potential as we make our way toward the mid-80s. It's a summer day, and with high humidity levels, these mid-80s will feel closer to 90 in some of our hottest inland suburbs. This is our 12-hour forecast for Boston, showing things looking storm-free until after 6 p.m. That's not the case for areas west. As early as 2 o'clock, these storms start firing off, and then they continue to march eastward. I'll get you through the rest of this timeline, plus another round of rain in the forecast tomorrow. I'll have that full forecast ahead later today, and it's all a matter of location as far as the timing. But the severe weather threat does contain the likelihood for some downpours, damaging wind, hail. There's even a low risk of a tornado. That tornado risk is mainly in this area from Worcester westward. That area is where we're seeing the strongest severe weather risk. It extends up through New Hampshire and Maine. It also extends through western Massachusetts down into Connecticut and portions of New York. The timeline here, mainly between 2 to 6 for western Massachusetts. In eastern Massachusetts, 5, 6 o'clock through about 10 o'clock tonight. Thereafter, just a few showers, but those showers could linger into much of the day tomorrow. It's being triggered by this cold front that right now is already firing up some showers and storms just to our west into the Midwest and Ohio River Valley. We're dry here for now. We do have some clouds starting to stream in, but the haziness factor you're seeing to the sky at this moment, that's actually some wildfire smoke being detected in our skies. So we will see our air quality drop down to moderate at times. So if you're ultra sensitive to particulate matter due to wildfire smoke, this is something you might want to consider. We're just moving past sunrise right now with humidity levels climbing, dew points in the 60s. So as we approach the mid-80s this afternoon, the feel like temperature, what it will feel like as you're heading out in the height of the afternoon, could approach 90 degrees. So bottom line, it is a hot and steamy day, but mainly storm-free day for most of eastern Massachusetts, as our storm threat is not until really after 5, 6 o'clock and then continuing through the rest of this evening. Let's time it out elsewhere, because even though the arrival is really this evening for eastern Massachusetts, that's not the case west. As early as 2 o'clock, these storms start crossing the border from New York, heading over into western Massachusetts. They continue to shift eastward. If you're in Worcester, I would plan on these storms getting a little closer as early as 5 o'clock this evening, starting to shift east to 495 at that point, and then getting closer to Boston by around 6 o'clock this evening. And these storms could still be very strong, although that risk is strongest west as they continue to move through about 10 o'clock tonight. Thereafter, showers will be possible overnight with some patchy fog as we fall down into the upper 50s to mid 60s. It's a cool day tomorrow. Clouds around, showers looking likely. In fact, with today's round of storms, it's mainly from Boston northwest that we're tracking that chance of severe weather. As you move into southeastern Massachusetts, it's dry, but that second round of rain Sunday could help to bring beneficial rainfall to the Cape Cod and Islands. So our timeline showing rain steadiest northwest of Boston early in the morning tomorrow, but then it fills in for the rest of the area through the afternoon. I do think by the mid-afternoon, these showers start to disperse. We should see some more dry times for the second half of the Pats game, but keep an eye out for some lingering showers down toward Cape Cod and the Islands for about midnight before clearing out heading into Monday. And that threat continues into this evening. You can see for Boston, it's really not until after 5, 6 o'clock. So we get a good chunk of our day okay until this storm risk moves in. It is a strong risk in areas of western Massachusetts. We even have the potential for a tornado trying to develop. It's hot out there today. We're making our way toward the mid-80s this afternoon. So we have this heat and humidity factor and even a haziness factor with some wildfire smoke in the air. And so that will keep us feeling summer-like through much of this afternoon. Notice for Boston, that storm threat mainly after 6 p.m. But let's time this out, because by 2, those storms are crossing the border from New York, starting to move into western Massachusetts, and then getting a little bit closer to Worcester by 5 o'clock this evening. Should get closer to Boston after 6 p.m. And then we continue to see a severe weather storm potential through about 10 o'clock tonight. Thereafter, a few showers will be possible, but the problem is this front is slow to clear, and so I do think tomorrow's looking a bit wetter than expected. The timeline for showers coming up. Yes, the severe weather threat has ended, so we have a bit of relief from that, but the rain is here to stay for especially eastern Massachusetts as we hold on to this for at least the mid to late afternoon. And as Jen mentioned, it's wet at Gillette Stadium. Well, the showers continue to shift southeastward, so an area of southeastern Massachusetts that was initially dry earlier is now starting to turn wet as these showers continue to shift. It's been a steady rainfall as we move along the Mass Pike and northward. We have some heavier rain moving into Boston at the moment as this cold front that triggered the severe weather yesterday still hangs around today. Keeps us cool. We're in the upper 50s to low 60s, and mid 60s is where we'll stay as we hold on to showers through this afternoon. Timeline here showing the steadiest rain shifting eastward over the next hour. By kickoff at 1, rain mainly focused over eastern Massachusetts. I'll have the timeline for when it completely clears out of here ahead. It's going to be wet for really much of today. Not expecting things to dry out in Boston until this evening, although for some areas that rain could linger through late tonight. We are sitting at 61 degrees right now at Gillette Stadium, where we're looking ahead to the big Pats game. Kickoff at 1, and we'll be in the low 60s at that point. Clouds and showers likely with kickoff, but showers are expected to dwindle as we travel through the late afternoon, at least in Foxborough. And so I don't think it will be a soaking rain for the entire game. I'll break down the timeline ahead. For now, let's get you out the door with temperatures in the upper 50s to low 60s, slightly warmer down toward Cape Cod Islands, where the rain is not as steady down there. We're actually seeing relatively dry conditions still this morning down on the Cape. Highs today topping out in the mid 60s for most spots. After hitting the mid 80s yesterday, it's about 20-degree drop in temperatures. We're about 10 degrees below average. It is going to feel cool out there this afternoon, especially if you're out there sitting in this rain, which is rather widespread right now, extending all the way into western Massachusetts. But let's take you in where we're seeing some of the heaviest pockets. As we move just north of Boston, you can see some of the heavier rain that was in the city earlier is now starting to shift northward toward Cape Ann. We have another area of some heavier rainfall right along the Mass Pike that's shifting eastward into Metro West. Here's Gillette Stadium, where it's a light shower that's passing by. There's some heavier action just to the southwest, though, heading down toward Providence, and now we'll be traveling northbound along 95 toward the stadium. We have some broken showers over southeastern Massachusetts, but you can see Cape Cod is still dry at the moment. These showers continue to shift eastward, so if you are west of 495, you'll start to notice by late this morning, more so into the early afternoon. This is paused at 1 o'clock. We start to see that rain shifting eastward, so most of Worcester County, you start to see things drying out as we kick off the afternoon. Meanwhile, in eastern Massachusetts and moving toward Foxborough for the start of the game at 1, it does still look wet. But notice how these showers continue to shift eastward. They kind of focus themselves over far southeastern Massachusetts as we move toward about 4 o'clock today. That's why I do expect at Gillette we should see some breaks from the rain by the later half of the game. For Cape Cod and the Islands, here's your showers moving in as we move toward the dinner hour, and those showers linger through midnight down there. In fact, some of the last drops moving off of the outer Cape closer to 4 o'clock in the morning early tomorrow. But showers will fade for the most part, and we'll see some patchy fog in their place, cooling down to the 40s overnight, and that's setting the stage for a cool start to our morning with some fog and clouds. Afternoon features mostly sunny skies. We'll see temperatures top out near 70 at the coast with a sea breeze, mid 70s possible for our inland suburbs.
And we're going to do some pre-gaming. I have live coverage from Gillette. More of that in a minute. But first, let's get set with this forecast. Severe weather last night, more rain today for many.
I will say at least the severe weather is over with, but it's not a perfectly sunny forecast, as you can clearly see. Quite the opposite. But if you look closely here, right along 95, stretching from Gillette down toward Providence and even moving down toward the coastline, we are seeing this heavier rain starting to develop, and that is following a path that's starting to shift eastward. So we still look to see some of that steadier rainfall moving into southeastern Massachusetts shortly. We've been in the rain and a steady rain for much of the area northwest of 95. 95, and you can see that's the case through Boston all the way up into New Hampshire. Upper 50s to low 60s out there, and 60s is where we'll stay this afternoon. So it's cool, cloudy, and damp as this rain continues to shift eastward. Let's move toward 1 o'clock. Kickoff still looking wet along 95, but if you're west of 495, you start to see some improvements. I'll have a timeline for when the rest of us will see improvements coming up. Shower, but you'll notice more so toward the second half of the game that the showers start to let up. We'll start to see some breaks in between the rain, although it will still be cloudy and damp feeling out there. So if you are heading to the stadium, lucky enough to be heading to the game, you want to make sure you have your poncho, but make sure you also have some layers. On the surface, 60s doesn't sound cold, but when you're sitting in the rain, that will get you down to the bone here. So here's Gillette looking very wet as these downpours move through. And it's not just in Gillette that we're seeing some of these downpours. This is something we're watching on and off for much of the area. I want to take you ahead to the kickoff today at 1 o'clock as we take on the Raiders. Yes, it is a wet kickoff still at that point, sitting in the low 60s. But if you look closely here, we start to see the showers dwindle as we move toward the mid-afternoon. So by 4 o'clock, say, we'll start to see things drying out, especially as we move out toward Foxborough. Showers linger a little longer over far southeastern Massachusetts. Upper 50s to low 60s out there right now, and we stay in the 60s this afternoon, so it is a cool outlook as this rain continues to move by. In general, the heaviest rainfall right now is actually still just northwest of 95, but it's starting to pivot closer and closer to 95. And as Jen remarked on, we're starting to see that heavier rain moving into Foxborough at the moment. Let's take you north of Boston, where it's widespread steady rain that has been in place for several hours now. But if you look here, just west of the city, we're starting to see some of those downpours like what we're seeing over Foxborough traveling right along the Mass Pike through Metro West. So if you're in Natick, you're in Framingham, it is a heavy rainfall greeting you. Areas of Worcester County also looking wet, especially as you sit just west of Worcester. And then all of 95 starting to pick up in intensity with this rain, starting to see those showers fill in as we move down toward the Cape Cod Canal as this axis of rainfall continues to shift southeastward. So over the next hour, we're starting to see that rain approaching more of Cape Cod. West of 495 drying out as early as 1, but still wet on 95 in Foxborough for the game. And then we move toward that 4 o'clock hour. We should see most of the rain just southeast of 95 at that hour. But if you're in southeastern Massachusetts, these showers will be on and off right on into this evening. For Cape Cod and the islands, I would plan on rain through at least midnight. It's not until about 4 a.m. that we completely dry out even on Cape Cod, and that will lead us into a dry day tomorrow. Just watch for some fog overnight. It's a cool overnight too as we fall into the 40s. We're into the 70s tomorrow.